Hello, everyone. Today, as you may guess, we have another unique guest with us with a unique topic, and this is healthy food and healthy lifestyle. Today with us is Lynora Bayless from Las Vegas. Lynora is a graduate of University of Nevada, Las Vegas, a diet and lifestyle intervention counselor, author of Devoted Bodies, a certified wellness coach and health educator, business and spiritual mentor and teacher, and a nationally known speaker. Lynora believes that living a whole, healed, put together life, as described in Romans 6:22-23, requires attention to the mind, body, and soul. As a preacher's daughter and a student of scripture, faith is the guiding force in her life. When her family faced devastating health challenges, she trusted that good would come from it, and indeed it has. She pursued a career path centered on staying well and thriving instead of worrying about the genes she was dealt. Her unique, holistic approach of whole health has impacted thousands of lives. So, hi, Lynora, thank you so much for allocating the time for this interview. Could you please share with us what are you doing at home at the moment? Have we interrupted you with any of your home activities?
No, actually, I think I shared with you that I'm a recent retiree, so I'm quite at my leisure. And we're getting ready to head to Israel on Monday. And so I've been busy with that this week, but really been ready and looking forward to this conversation.
Amazing. Thank you so much. So we're going to start with the questions, the main topic of the day. I was always curious to understand what brought you to the field of research of healthy nutrition.
You know, sometimes those things that happen to you in life make you feel like you're totally off course. You know, it's like it shakes you to the core. But when things started falling apart, like you were talking about my family's health, I started thinking maybe this is a way that I find my purpose. And my father died from a stroke at 69, just after retiring. My sister at 35, 2 years later, had a massive stroke. And then my mom, who is the picture of health, was out at the track with me every day, walking while I ran, and weighed the same as she did when she was 16. When she had a stroke, that really rocked my world. And I thought, okay, I have to get more curious about how to protect my health. And that's really, instead of it being something that derailed me, it put me on the path. And that interest became a passion. And once I learned all the ways you can protect yourself, I knew this was something I wanted to do with my life.
So tell me, when did you start with this research, and when did you start developing your own healthy habits?
I would say in the early 90s is when we started. That took a radical shift again in 2005 when my husband and I started having some health challenges of our own. And so we even took it further at that point, but it started in the early 90s.
Okay, and I understand that you have adult children, so I believe you switched to healthy nutrition together as a family, right?
We did, with much kicking and screaming when cheese was going off of the menu, right? But we did, and I tried to explain to them why my two youngest sons had suffered with asthma and allergies, and once I had learned that, you know, proper hydration and elimination of certain foods could really help. I said, you know, guys, which is easier, going to the doctor, taking breathing treatments, albuterol, Alupent, all these drugs that you have to take, or just eating the things that are going to help us correct it? So they, for the most part, they complied and still do.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. How do you motivate people who are relatively healthy and don't have any obvious health issues that are blocking them from performing everyday activities? How do you convince them to do something today and prevent their sickness and illness instead of waiting for tomorrow and then treating it with medications? How do you convince a healthy person to make the switch?
I don't think you can motivate other people. You can inspire them through your example. But I guess I think about, you know, if you bought a brand new car and you never changed the oil and you didn't put in the proper fuel, you didn't really do anything. You just kind of kept it cleaned. Like we're good about cutting our hair, doing it, you know, taking care of our skin, everything that shows on the outside. If you did absolutely nothing under the hood, there would come a day of reckoning. Because if we think about it in the right way, food is fuel. It's oil and gas for your body. And you have a company car that is designed to last for 70 plus years. And if you take care of it, it will. If not, we know that we could not go 70 years without an oil change or without, you know, the right gas. So it's kind of in that thinking, you're creating the future right now. In fact, what you eat today becomes part of your cells. And if you make a change, if you change exactly what you're doing to a healthier set of choices, a year from now, you've replaced just about every cell in your body, including the enamel on your teeth. I mean, everything changes. So I consider that super inspiring, that you can actually create the body that you want, the health that you want, no matter what genes you were dealt or where you are today.
Yes, human bodies are indeed intelligent design.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask another question. This one, I'm looking from my perspective. I'm a professional athlete, and starting from athletes, but also taking into consideration everyone else who are doing recreational sports or simply want to improve the life quality. What role does nutrition play in their performance, in athletic performance, intellectual, mental, in our relationships with other people? How does that affect our performance on various segments of life?
It's great that you use the word performance, because in athletics, we kind of look at performance as recovery, repair from injury, you know, the amount of time that takes. We have a specific measure. But if we're looking at the human body correctly, every part of us performs. Your brain performs the way that it should or it doesn't. Your digestion performs the way it should or it doesn't. Your soft tissue, your muscles, like how do we get all these itises, arthritis, iritis from the eye? I mean, there's just all these things that are inflammatory diseases. Those are your body saying, we're not performing at our peak here. And so nutrition is like, we could talk about all sorts of things that affect your health, your sleep, how much you stress. But the one thing that we have in control, that we have total control of, is our fork and what we put in it. So that's the one place where we can really determine. And if you think about the foods that help with repair and recovery, not just for athletic purposes, but your brain, digestion, all those are plant foods, the foods that have antioxidants, that have enzymes, that have all the buzzwords of modern nutrition. It is plant foods that have those. So the more we eat, the better position we're going to be in, the faster we'll recover. It actually not just helps us recover from injury, but prevents injury, those foods.
So I was just going to ask, I understand that there are a lot of conflicting theories today about which nutrition to select, whether it's, I don't know, keto diet, paleo, protein diet, vegan, vegetarian. What do you think of these theories, and what have you found that works the best for you and your family?
The person who eats the most plants wins. And if you look at what has sustained human life for thousands of years, not in the last 50 years, right? Because there's all sorts of approaches you can get if your goal is to lose weight, you know, or to get cut. The problem in human health is not losing weight, it's gaining weight, okay? If you can't sustain what you're doing for a lifetime, I mean, I look at the word in English, diet, D-I-E, the first three letters of diet are die, right? And you're on your way, like ketosis is on your way to death. And if that gives you any idea of how I feel about that diet, it's effective. It works. It will turn up your metabolism, but at what cost? What kind of inflammation are you creating? Is it sustainable? And if it's not, you have to think, what can I do that I can do day in, day out? Train my taste buds to like the foods that my body actually needs. And that takes time. You have to, I'm so blessed because I love fruits and vegetables. I know so many people that they weren't raised on them. They were raised to eat the things that they would eat. And now they have no taste for the things that they really, really need.
That's a very good point. I have a few French friends, and their French mothers are very strict about the way how they raise their children. They put all sorts of healthy food on the plate that children normally don't like, especially the veggies. And they will not allow their children to step away from the table until they have eaten at least 3 spoons of every type of veggies. And they say, you will eat it until you love it. Yeah. And that's how the French mothers, literally what you have just said, they teach the children to like the healthy food and to have different things on their plate.
There's definitely truth in that. I remember when we were trying to move towards a plant-based diet, which you asked what our family did, and that was the direction we went. More vegetables for sure, and more fruits, but we would try things. And like, I remember the first time that I tasted a mango. I had never had a mango in my life. I thought, sort of like a peach, but all that thread stuff in there, I'm not sure I like it. And so we tried it then, and we set it aside, came back, tried it again. And I thought, I sort of like this. Well, to make a long story short, on the third time, I go, oh, I really like this. And it has become my favorite fruit. So there are 800 taste buds on your tongue. And you know which ones we are fully aware of and are awake to? Sugar, salt, and fat. Okay. And if you're going to expand your palate, you have to be willing to try unfamiliar things that don't attract you. But if you will try them on 3 separate occasions, not 3 different bites at the same setting, but 3 different occasions, you can wake up those taste buds and really start to enjoy other food.
So you can actually develop taste for certain foods, even as an adult.
Yeah. So those French moms have it right. Eat it till you love it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So tell me, you have a book, Devoted Bodies.
I do.
Can you tell me a little bit more what we could possibly read in the book? Like, do you have recipes or meal plans? Or I understand that you have a holistic approach, mind, body, and soul. So I was thinking while I was reading more on your website about your approach to healthy lifestyle. Do we need to have also a psychologist included if certain people have a really big problem with food, with their relationship with food? So can you tell me more about the relationship to food, and if we need to include a team, and what does your holistic approach include? What's included in this holistic approach?
Okay. First of all, you said it really properly that we all have a relationship with food. Some of us have a very healthy one where we eat when we're hungry. Some of us have a very dysfunctional relationship with food. And the difficulty, let's just say you're addicted to sugar or caffeine or anything else that's really, really easy to make a bad habit out of. Okay. We can quit alcohol and live a life just fine. We can quit smoking and live a life just fine. We have to eat until the day we die. So we have to learn to manage our relationship with food. And so I think every person has to evaluate whether they've just created a bunch of bad habits, that now they can just start to replace those with healthier habits once they understand the relationship between the foods they're eating and the diseases they're experiencing. If they make that connection, it's easier. But if they're using it for comfort, or they're using it to keep people away, or if if there's some unhealthy connection, that's probably where I would say the use of a counselor would be great. And there are programs that really try and incorporate that. For me, what the approach that I took in Devoted Bodies is there's 2 spiritual principles. And since you brought it up, and I'm just going to talk freely.
I'm curious, honestly. I'm asking for myself, also for the audience, but also for myself. Yeah.
So the first principle comes from Galatians 5:1, and it says, Christ has set us free to live a free life. And when I think about, some people think of freedom when it relates to food is I can eat whatever I want, whenever I want, and there's no consequence. That would be freedom. And maybe heaven will be like that. But down here, it's not. So when I think about freedom, it's freedom to get up every day, full of vitality, ready to do everything. My husband and I are still doing, he's now in his 70s. I'm almost 66, and we're doing everything now that we did in our 20s and 30s. It's a number, it's not a sentence, right? And so when I think about freedom, it's not feeling addicted to things. It's being able to pass a full-length mirror without a discussion about the weight you need to lose or the way you look or any of that. It's freedom. It is to get up and do every day what you feel like doing and having the health to do it. And the other spiritual principle that I talk about is stewardship. In church or synagogue, or wherever we worship, we're taught about being good stewards of our time and our talent and our treasure, but not our temple. And when I referred to the company car, this is what you have to get everything done in your life that you're purposed here, why you're here, right? And if you don't take care of that, none of that other stuff is going to happen. And so that's the approach that I have. And then it's just going through what God's plan was for our health and how we've kind of messed it up, and just a lot of practical helps for living it out and surrounding yourself with people that are on the same journey, because people are not supportive. It makes them feel badly when you're doing something healthy and they're not. And so they make it about you, and it's really about them.
That's true. That's true. I was going to ask if you could just briefly explain the concept of stewardship. For people who are not native speaker, it's not such a frequent word.
Okay, sure. So when you're given something to look after for someone else, you could say you're a trustee for it, you're a steward for it. It's being responsible to look after something else that is given to you. And so when I think about my time, okay, that being a good steward of my time means I'm going to use my time wisely. I'm going to use my money wisely. I'm going to make sure that I have enough to give and to help other people. So all of these things we're taught in our faith, but we're not, very rarely is there any conversation about taking care of our physical temple, our health.
Yes, so we are yes, thank you so much. So we are entrusted with our bodies to take care of them and not to ruin them at will, fire at will.
Yeah.
So can you help me understand, how can we expand our thinking so that the food isn't the center of our social experience? Especially, for example, in Serbia, where I come from, every national tradition revolves around food, around slow cooking. My grandmother and my mother and my aunts would slow cook meals for 6 or 8 hours during the day, and it would be heavy with meat, with fat, with everything, especially I think in some other countries as well. If you have something to celebrate, you will always do it with a very, very rich meal, which isn't necessarily healthy. So do you have any advice? How did you overcome this? And what can I do to overcome this obstacle?
I wish you could be at my house sometimes when my healthy friends come over for us to have a potluck, because we still center a lot of what we do around food, because it's a social
Really?
thing and humans need to eat 3 times a day, right? And so we still do that, but what we bring builds each other up. You know, I always think that we understand the idea of what we do either creates peace or turmoil. And if we apply that to eating, and it isn't that you're even, I don't care if you change everything in your diet, your body, you will always respond to sugar, and you will always respond to things that are fat, like whether they're fried or is the fat off of the meat, because for thousands of years, we've tried to eat the most calorically dense food to stay alive, because lots of times survival was involved, right? So you're always going to be attracted to those foods. It's not a matter of giving them up, it's managing them. My sweet treat of choice is fruit. Okay. That is a treat for me. And the difference between eating fruit as your sweet and brownies, is brownie something that you guys make and eat?
Yes.
Okay. So brownies, I'm not happy till the last brownie is gone, right? That's the way I am with brownies, because it's so dense, the sweetness and the fat and the sugar, everything together, it's like very hard to resist. But if I have a whole bowl of mangoes, I'm going to eat one. You know, that's the difference between foods that God made and foods that we artificially concentrate fat and sugar into. It just becomes easier to eat an appropriate amount of food. And so we still do that, but we also do social things around activity, you know, getting out and meeting each other and going for a hike or going for a walk. If I'm going for a walk by myself, I get on the phone and talk to somebody I haven't talked to for a while. They may have to hear me breathy a little bit from exercising, but I try and make those things enjoyable too, so that it's not just congregating around food, but around other things that we love and enjoy. Board games, just doing things together that initiate conversation, because that's really why we connect with each other, not just to eat, right?
Right. That's a very, very good message, and seems very logical and obvious, but I guess that we need to be reminded from time to time.
Yep.